Welcome to Harry's Mad Hatter Picnics. Ooh, what could be in the picnic basket today? Let's have a look, shall we? Well, today we're looking at tomato plants. These are mine, which have just gone gangbusters recently because the crazy weather we've had. We've had a lot of rain and sort of a back view. We've had a lot of rain and we've been giving them, we live by the sea, so I've been giving them some seaweed. And I'll tell you what, this plant here was the first one I put on seaweed and it's just gone crazy. It's like 5 times the size of the others. So I thought, well, if it's good for one, oh, it's good for the others. I chopped up the last bit of seaweed that I had. But this time I've just put it straight on to see what happens. So I think they're all cucumbers. There's a few pumpkins in there or something, I don't know. Spring onions over here, we haven't put anything around. They're just going along normally. But yeah, this is just amazing. So let's have a look at some tips on tomato plants and growing it in your own backyard. Okay, so Gardening Australia have got some good tips on how to grow tomatoes and things to do and probably what not to do. So this is the best one I've found so far, but I'll just run you through it quickly.
It's loved by gardeners and non-gardeners alike. Now they're fairly easy to grow, but there's a few tips.
Well, tomatoes are not easy to grow. If you have a really hot day, it can kill all your tomatoes if you're not looking after them well. Bugs can get them, but you know, still have a go at it because I'd say 7 out of 10 times they'll come through. But they're not easy to grow. They're not like growing silver beet or spinach or stuff like that.
Tips that'll turn a decent crop into a bumper harvest. I sowed the seeds of these plants back in spring and they've grown strongly, so it's time for them to go in the ground. Now if you haven't sown your tomato seeds yet, I'm sorry, you've missed the boat. But don't worry, it's tomato time. So seedlings like this are available everywhere, from nurseries, garden centres, even...
Just on that, don't do it. If you've missed the boat, grow from seedlings only. The Bunnings varieties or from your nurseries, they're hybrids and the fruit won't taste as good as if you've grown from your own seedlings from a natural seedling provider.
In your neighbours. Now we classify tomatoes in 2 main types, depending on their growth characteristics, what we call determinate and indeterminate.
So we'll speed along here.
Metre spacing. When it comes...
You don't need a metre spacing. My plants are probably about 8 to 10 inches apart. As long as you keep the fertiliser, as you've seen we use seaweed, but you can use sea salt or Dad used to use blood and bone, but use as natural fertiliser as you can.
As to how deep to plant them, many people will plant them at the depth that they are in the pot. But I've found that if you go a little bit deeper, the plant will form roots out of the stem, meaning you'll have a bigger, deeper root zone, so the plant will be better able to forage for its own water and food. Number 3, feeding. Potassium is a tomato's best friend.
So here he goes on about potassium, and he's got it in a powdered form, so I don't recommend that. I recommend compost, good compost from your garden. As I say, we use seaweed, but basically anything more natural that you can get, the more it's powdery and stuff like that, you're heading towards, you may as well grow hydroponics.
I add a small amount of sulphate of potash when first planting, and then again at the first sign of fruit. When the plant is tall and laden with fruit, I like to come back through and put a larger 1/3 handful of potash down to ensure there's enough potassium.
Man, he loves his potash. Anyway, let's keep going.
For the fruit to ripen well. Number 4, wooden stakes, which tend to break and splinter.
Now this is where he's using Rio poles, which is just way over the top. If you can go to Bunnings and you buy those bamboo sticks, which are about, I don't know, 2 to 3 metres tall, and tie them together, that's fine. You don't need steel stakes to keep your tomatoes up. My God.
You can stake your plants when they're taller, and they need it. At the junction point between the mains, this little bit of growth...
Okay, these little bits that grow in between, they are... you can actually pick them out and it'll add more fruit to the plant. And someone was telling me the other day, you can actually pick the very tips of the plant as it's growing. If you pick that off, it gets better fruit. But he's got a couple of good tips on this, which I'll share. Here we go.
At the junction point between the main stem and the leaf is what we call a lateral. Now, in the plants at this stage of development, I leave them on, and then I find the 3 strongest and I tie them back to my stakes, removing the rest. But bear in mind, if they're big enough and it's early enough in the season, you can snap these off, stick them in the ground, give them some water, and you'll get a new plant.
Now, I never knew that. That is amazing. That's brilliant, actually, because then you're getting more seedlings from the same plant.
Also, I concentrate on removing leaves. Certainly the lower ones that are in contact with the ground. They just become highways for pests and diseases. But by removing the leaves, you're promoting upward growth and good air circulation around the plant, meaning a healthy plant and a good crop. So there you go.
There you go.
Tomatoes are the crop that showcase the difference between store-bought and homegrown. If you're already a fan, I'm happy for you, and I hope you got something out of these tips.
Yeah, except for your Rio bloody poles to hold your tomatoes up. That's just crazy. Yeah, isn't it interesting? They have these presenters that are... he looked fairly solid, like he works out and he talks strong and he holds his arm strong. So I guess my thinking here is that if they have a presenter like that, it's like, oh, this guy, look at him, he's like full on. This is how my tomatoes are going to be, right? That's the only thing I can think why they're getting him to present in such a way. But anyway, some good tips there.
But if you're a first-time grower, get out there, get planting. You're in for a life-changing experience.
So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. That's on Gardening Australia. You can find it. And happy tomato growing. And as I say, if you missed it this year, get your seeds going for next year from around about springtime next year. Okay. Bye. So where are we? Oh, bye.